All right, a warm welcome to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to have you with us, and thank you so much for logging in. You are at the Business Beyond 2020 webinar, and we have a very exciting lineup of distinguished and experienced speakers today who I have no doubt that what they share with you will have a tremendous effect on your ability to be informed about the future in business and about what uh, preparation is required for tomorrow. So let me quickly introduce each of the speakers. First, I'd like to introduce Ms. Manisha Kapetipola. Manisha is a marketing specialist and has served in many different industries, including telco, retail, the apparel sector, and has worked in organizations such as Dialogue and Arpico. And I have no doubt that she will have so much of experience to share with us as certain questions are directed her way. I'd like to also introduce Ms. Ruwinika Siriwardana. Ms. Ruwinika is a director of human resources at Telecommunications Private Limited. She carries with her a wealth of 18 years of experience in directing and enhancing implementation projects. She's also involved in strategic HR initiatives and HR operations. Third, we have with us Mr. Austin Mascarengas. And Austin is the consultant and head of business at IIT. He carries with him also 30 years of experience in the IT sector, 10 years at C level, and 30 years experience in education. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us a very exciting session, and I have no doubt that you are going to enjoy each of the informative responses that we get. I'd like to go straight into things and start with a question directed at you, Manisha. And my first question to you is regarding the current situation in the country and, of course, globally. Right, we have gone through a very unusual year in 2020, and COVID-19 has significantly impacted life as we know it and has imposed several restrictions over the past months on the way we've lived when compared to the normal way of life as we used to know it in the past. Now, what would you say, Manisha, are some of these most critical changes that we have had to face?
Okay. Hello, good evening, everyone. Okay, regarding, it's a very interesting question you're putting across, Havendra. Now, we can all see, that there are various sectors and industries that are undergoing numerous changes as of recently, some quite extreme changes, actually. Now, the traditional way of doing things must change due to these various things that have come up, and it may cease to exist at the most part, right? The Western world, I would say, was somewhat prepared for this much more than us, actually, especially with the advancements in technology that they have taken up in their day-to-day lives. But for us Sri Lankans, the majority of us, have had to, uh, have a jump start to it, actually. Yeah. Now, COVID may pass in a year or two, but these advancements, they are here to stay. They will remain because it is, after all, the future. I'd like to put a few examples across on the various industries that are undergoing changes. Something very relatable to us all is the retail sector. Now, even we find, going out to buy something simple like groceries is a high risk. It's much more convenient to go online and get everything done through that, right? For me, I have a baby at home. So that whole process of going out, washing hands, sanitizing, 10 to 15 times, and then finally having to come home and to have to take a wash, before I go near the baby, I consider that extremely stressful and an unnecessary hassle. So for me, it's much easier to shop online. So I think most can relate to this, right? So how businesses are adapting to this new way of behavior in consumers. You see big supermarkets like Cargill's and Keys. They have upgraded their online shopping carts so as to make it more user friendly and easier for a normal person to use. Now, a few years ago, when I was working in the supermarket retail industry, right, the revenue from online shopping was less than 1% of total sales. It was about 0.3 to 0.5%. Now, this has jumped to about 3 to 4%. So that's huge, more than 1,000% growth in online revenue. So and also you see these small supermarkets that are going online, with very basic shopping carts, right? And so many other retailers are tying up with platforms and services like Uber and PickMe to basically cater to this need. Now, you get all these food retailers, grocery shops, fish and meat sellers, baby shops, they're all on board. Even FMCG companies like Unilever, Nestle's, Atlas, Fonterra, all of them, they're selling their brands directly through these various platforms. So everyone is seeing this need and they are stepping up to this challenge.
Very interesting, Manisha. And it's exciting to hear about how organizations have shifted their focus from the traditional way of selling just to accommodate these changes and have gone into online shopping. And that's fantastic. I think that's tremendous. But still, we also see a lot of industries struggling, don't we? A lot of industries facing hardships. Now, at the same time, we notice that there are a few industries, such as the telecommunication industry, for example, that is just doing so well. And there are others in similar industries as well that are just booming at this time. Could you tell us something about that?
So a little bit about the telecommunications industry. The people there, they're doing very well actually. Where you see other industries are suffering, companies like Dialog, Mobitel, SLT, they have come up with many new advancements and they're enjoying high growth and an increase in revenue. If you know anyone from this industry, you will see how busy they are now. So many new products have been introduced, such as unlimited packages for Zoom and Microsoft Teams. You get these work from home packages, study online packages, and new technologies are adapted, catering especially to this new requirement that has come up.
Exciting. Thank you so much. And I want to come back to you, Manisha, with a couple of more questions. But before I do that, I'm going to jump to Ruinika. And Ruinika, I'd like to direct a question to you. Now, we heard of some of these challenges, and Manisha did explain a few earlier on. But still, would you agree that there is a silver lining despite all the challenges, despite the desperation that people feel, that there is a silver lining in all of this? Would you agree with that? And if you do, what would your comments be?
Yes, good evening to everyone, and it's great to be in this forum. Yes, I agree that there is a silver lining to every situation. This year has been a great example. The key is to stay positive in any bad situation. I always see good in any bad situation. And if you stay positive, you give the mind the ability to create and to become innovative. So in the mantra in the world of technology, you can become innovative by staying positive. So it's key that you stay positive and in any bad situation. And that's how you can see the silver lining. And one good example would be this year, the COVID-19 pandemic affecting the whole world. And a lot of people had to, change their way of working. Businesses were affected, jobs were affected. A very good example I can give is my best friend who had a travel firm had to shut down the travel firm because there was no traveling taking place. And she stayed positive. And it's very inspiring to see what she's doing today. It's amazing because she went into creating, manufacturing toys for children, manufacturing viral guard masks in a big scale. She even exports them. And it's fantastic how she used the technology that is out there to her advantage. And that is staying positive. So because you give that opportunity to yourself to create, and it's amazing. And if you really take like simple things like Manisha said, the retail business, Kill Super and Food City, they had to create an app for us to buy our groceries. They were not prepared when the pandemic hit us. So they took some time, but they had to come up pretty fast so that they were able to sell their products. And that's very important to, stay positive, be able to create, be able to come up with things fast. And I think the way forward in the world of technology is something else, is artificial intelligence, is redefining the industries by automating processes and disrupting how we work. So it's very important that we have data when we work in companies. When I had to start working from home, I had all the information in my computer to be able to work from home and be successful. And so data is the lifeblood of companies today. And so we have to keep this in mind in any situation, to be positive, start being creative and innovate. You will definitely see the silver lining.
Thank you, Runika. Absolutely. I agree with you completely. And I love what you said about innovation and creativity. And I want to jog your mind with that a little bit more in a little bit. But before I do that, Manisha, just hop right back to you. I want to ask you if you could tell us something about some of the trending areas in business right now. The focus has changed. There is no doubt about it. There is no question about it. Things have changed drastically. So can you just give us a glimpse at some of those critical changes in terms of, what's trending right now?
Okay. Yes, what is trending now? One thing that is top of mind across all advertisers is social media, right? Everyone, all the advertising people, they have shifted their focus towards this area of social media. It's been there for some time now, right? And as of since COVID, it has accelerated quite a bit actually. Now, traditional advertising mediums are on a heavy decline. You see less and less people are watching TV and reading the newspaper nowadays. Everyone is on Facebook and YouTube, and youngsters, you see them using Instagram and Snapchat and all sorts of other mediums. Now in Sri Lanka, it's definitely, there is definitely over 100% growth in the use of social media over the past 3 to 4 years. Now, we as marketers, we are encouraged to allocate a fixed percentage of the marketing budget just for online advertising, because it's much more cost effective, and you can actually measure the results and the outcomes. Like you can see the number of views, the click-through rates, the number of likes and comments and shares. So and it's much more effective and much more cheaper as well. With a few dollars, you can make a tremendous impact on social media actually. So it's the future of advertising, and organizations are increasingly giving this aspect a high level of priority, especially when it comes to marketing and advertising.
Thank you. Thank you, Manisha. Excellent. I'd like to focus a little bit on some of the impacts that we have had to learning as well. So learning has also been an area that has been impacted by the current situation. And if I could turn to you, Austin, and quickly run this question across you, with all your experience in education, in the sector, what would you say are some of the ways in which universities and learning institutions such as schools and universities, of course, have fought back this tremendous challenge during these times? How have they fought back? If I could just ask you that question.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So on the education front, I would say the impact to learning, it's been kind of a mixed kind of impact. If you, for example, I mean, I think most of you may have read this news item. The teachers union was sort of saying that in the schools, online education has had many challenges. That, for example, the schools were not equipped to handle the technology. The teachers were not technology savvy. They couldn't handle the technology, and the students couldn't afford the cost of data that was needed for doing this online education. And there were also issues with poor network connectivity, and there were a host of other issues. So, so there are some things that people have had to face. But on the other hand, there were also a lot of positive reports coming out from even from the school front. I was in a seminar the other day where there was a review of the impact of online education on school teachers as well as students. So there was a kind of representatives from both sides, and surprisingly, some of the students actually really liked it, because some of them were already technology savvy. They were used to, going to Google and searching things and using their mobile phones and all of that. So those students actually found online education as something better than physical education, because they really kind of liked the fact that they were able to do their own study at their own pace, sort of thing. Now, when we come to higher education, we ourselves are in higher education. We are in higher education for a long time. We have been in this for 30 years. And we ourselves faced similar issues when we were actually forced to go online when the first lockdown came upon us. So we also had this problem of telecommunication cost for the students, right? So as Rovinika mentioned, so we had to come out with innovative and creative solutions. So one of the things that we did was we went and had discussions with our telecommunication partners, and we were able to put together a good educational data package and offer it to our students, and we actually took the cost, right? We at IIT took the cost of that educational package, so the student didn't have to spend any extra cost for online education. Similarly with our lecturers also. So we had so for first thing we had to bear the cost of the data connection of our lecturers, right? And we had to provide proper connections for our lecturers. So we actually, again, so we have good telecommunication partners, and with their assistance, we were able to provide 4G routers and all of that to all our lecturers, so that they could conduct the classes without any cost and without any hassle. So those are some of the challenges that we overcome. But on the other hand, it was not difficult for IIT to go online, because for one thing, we are a very technology savvy company. Even people within the business department and our students are quite used to technology. In fact, even in the business management classes, sometimes we conduct the tutorials in our labs, where students can, while we are teaching, access the internet and do their search and go to the digital libraries and all of that. Those were things that we were already doing even before COVID. So it was not difficult for us to sort of go on to this online teaching. And our partners in the UK, especially University of Westminster, from that is the university from which we get the BA in Business Management course, they have like the best in class, one of the best the learning management systems in the world. And it already had all these features to do online classes and things like that. And all they had to do during this period was just increase the capacity of their systems, because now the business management degree runs in United Kingdom, and students from all over the world go to United Kingdom, spending a lot of money to to take this course. So during the COVID-19 situation, the students all went back to their respective countries. They were like spread out all over the world. So the degree had to be delivered to them while they were spread out all over the world during this period. But since the good learning management system, online system was already there, it was not difficult. And we also were already using learning management systems for our day-to-day operations. So the business management students were always submitting their assignments online. We have given up paper assignments long time ago. We don't do paper assignments anymore. Students submit their assignments online. So in those ways, it was kind of easy for us to make the transition. I'm happy to say that we did not actually miss a single class, miss a schedule because of going to online education, right? On top of that, now we do run our own classes without partnership to University of Westminster, especially the foundation course. The foundation course is a course where students who do not have the 3 A-level passes required to join the business management program can do this foundation course for 1 year, then come on to join the business management program. So that program is something that we are on our own, and in that also we were already using a learning management system. So we were able to deliver that also online without any hassle. But of course there were challenges. So we realized that to really go 100% online, or to do online on at a large part of the lectures go online, there were things that we also had to learn. So we got our partner university in the UK, University of Westminster, to train us first, and then we also got some Australian experts who are experts in online delivery, who are already doing that very much in their own university for so many years. We got them to train us to how to do online delivery better, and our lecturers are now very well equipped to do the online delivery. Let me just give you a flavor. For online delivery, it's not just Zoom. There are loads of tools there. I am just giving you a few, just to just a few names of things that we use. The Blackboard is the tool that we get from our University of Westminster, and so many other tools are there. Let's just so some of them are there for example, getting response from students. Now, one of the challenges that we had with online education was we actually missed the interaction. I myself do a lot of teaching to students, and I miss the interaction with the students, and the students miss the interaction with us online. So we had to find ways of creating that interaction when we went online. So we have things like breakout groups and so on, which are available in the LMS. For example, you might see this screen there for students to give a response. It's called poll, and here's another one that we use. It's called My Robot. This is something like sticky notes. So we throw out a question to students. Maybe they are in breakout groups, and online they're able to chat with each other within the group, and they post their discoveries or their thoughts or whatever using this online colorful board. And here's another tool that we are using very much in our courses. It's called Padlet. It's similar. So we can actually topically organize the students' chats and things like that. So there is like, quite a lot of tools that are there for us these days to do a successful online delivery.
Thank you,
So,
Austin.
yeah, if I may add something more, there's perhaps I could add one more thing there. That is that the opportunity side of COVID-19. Because of COVID-19, there are many journals and all of that, even scientific journals and business journals have sort of reduced their subscription fees, and some of them have made it free. And we ourselves get many digital libraries free from our partner universities in the UK. So our students are able to access textbooks online, research papers online. And we are also providing, there is something called LinkedIn Learning, which used to be called Linda in earlier, which is a very good learning platform where you can go and learn all kinds of things, including business and all of that. So those are the opportunity sites that have come out of the COVID, where actually our students have more access than what they had before.
I think that's tremendous, Austin. I think that's the way we can continue to carry out education and transfer of knowledge in an interactive way. And I think that's working tremendously. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. And I also believe that during this time, one of the greatest challenges we see around us is the tremendous amount of despair that people are going through for a number of different reasons. I mean, obviously, people are afraid of contracting this virus. And, sometimes there is this concern that we are not doing enough, or how can we go about changing the situation, bringing back some level of normalcy? Is that even possible? The guilt about not being on the front line, for example, uncertainty about the future of work and employment. I'm sure there are many breadwinners in families today who are concerned about their job status and situation in the future. And I have no doubt that this is adding tremendous amounts of stress to the family and to themselves. Even those who are working have had to learn how to adapt to new routines. Working from home, for example, is not easy when you have kids at home, perhaps, who are running about and making a lot of noise, and you've got to focus on what you're doing. Taking personal care of your family whilst managing all of this can bring about a lot of stress. But here's the key. We must understand that no matter what we go through or the challenges we face, they are always temporary. And in these temporary times of difficulty, we must learn to create new ways of thinking, to change the ways that we behave in order to promote personal well-being. This is the success of difficult times. We can build resilience. We have the ability to positively cope with stress and adversity. We must focus our attentions on this during these difficult times, because no matter how hard the challenges are, how difficult the times are, we must understand that these are all temporary times. And one of the ways we can really build resilience is to focus on our own personal development. If you look at this slide, you will notice that in the past, many job roles are no longer relevant today in society. Why? Because I think Ruvinika spoke about it a short while ago. There's so much of information technology and digital technology that has come in to replace these job roles. It's no longer necessary for human beings to carry out these tasks. Computers and machines can do much of it, right? Banks and tellers, for example. When was the last time you wanted to withdraw cash and you actually walked into a bank and went in the line? Now you pick out your ATM card and you go to the machine. Data entry clerks, so much relationship managers, shop salespersons, all of these roles are getting more and more redundant every single day. And if you look at some of these job roles, emerging ones. This is the trend. This is what the future is going to look like. These are some of the job roles that are coming up in the future. And I want you to focus on number 8 there, business services and administration managers. Oh, so much of the future is changing, and you and I have the capacity to develop ourselves today during these hard times in order to build resilience that is needed. There is a study that says that one of the highest or the major perceived barriers to adoption of new technology is the skill gap, the lack of knowledge, the lack of skill, and the lack of training. This is why education in times like this can prepare us for the future that is ahead of us. All right. With that being said, I'd like to come back to you, Ruinika. And we spoke earlier about the creativity and the innovation and the entrepreneurial skills that we must have in order to face the concerns of employability in the future. And I'd love if you could just share a few thoughts along these lines.
Yes, so it's important, to obtain a degree. I know most of the young kids who are listening here today will be pursuing a degree soon. So the management degree that IIT is offering, of course, will help to broaden the understanding of businesses, and that definitely will give greater job opportunities. You also said emerging jobs roles, it's there already. So if you do a business degree, you're definitely have a great opportunity to the job market out there. And so it's good to have a degree. That's not enough. I have been interviewing for the last 18 years, and I have interviewed so many young kids. I would call them kids, and they're just out of university. And I see that they have all the technical skills and they have all the paper qualifications, but sometimes they lack the way they could communicate, to be able to communicate clearly, to be able to communicate in English. So this is a good time to upskill yourself in those areas, the soft skills. If you think you're not good enough or lacking these skills, I advise you to take a test that is freely given by British Council. It's online, the level check test, to see where you stand in your English language. And I'm telling you, this is the advice that I can give you for employability, because if you're not able to market yourself when you go out there and when you face an interview, you will actually lose the opportunity. So this is a good time to upskill your soft skills. And that's my advice to the young people who are listening here today. And the other thing that the business management degree that IIT is offering, there is an industrial placement for 1 year that is required. It's part of the degree. And that's an excellent opportunity that is given for the students to really have a hands-on experience in the working world. I think before you get your degree, you know what it is like to go out there and work. And once you complete your degree and when you go for a job, it will be so easy for you to find a job. So that placement, industrial placement, that the opportunity that IIT is giving you is really good. If anyone doesn't know what industrial placement is, it's an opportunity that you're given to go and work in a company. And that's, I think, is an excellent opportunity. And then I also would like to comment on the adaptability and being resilient in these situations. That is the power to change and the capacity to be modified or a new use or a purpose, to be able to change in any situation. You know, in life, you will come across so many opportunities. I myself is a good example. I have a degree in economics, and I started off working at Deutsche Bank as a banker, and then I changed my job and went into marketing, and I worked as assistant manager at Jetwing Hotels, a totally different area. And then I changed my job into human resources. So I had to change my skills, how I looked at things, and it was a totally different area. And today I'm working for an IT company, and how I was able to adapt. That's the key, to be able to adapt when opportunity calls, you know. So to be able to take the opportunities in life, you should be able to be resilient, be able to be flexible, and be able to face those opportunities, because you never know there will be so many opportunities coming your way, not just the area of your studies, but there will be so many. And this year was a good example. People had to change. You will see a video in a little while where the pilots, high-flying pilots, you know, who enjoy flying aircraft, had no choice but to change their jobs. And in this video, you will see them driving a bus later on in life. You need to understand that if you have the power to be able to change, the power to adapt, it's not a negative thing to drive a bus. Don't look at it in that sense. Look at it in a positive way, and be able to be strong enough to drive a bus is the key here. So Havindra will play the video for us.
Thank you, Runika. Yes, I'm just about to play the video.
It's been part of my family, in my DNA, since I was born. I really do miss it. And I think I just have to accept that career I had is on hold.
These two pilots spent 62 years between them flying jetliners around the globe for Qantas. 7 months ago, the high flyers came down to earth in a hurry, and now they're driving buses instead of Airbuses.
You flew the last Qantas A380 back from London.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was a very strange experience. And to sit there knowing that this may be the last time you ever fly this aeroplane again is quite emotional, really. Bringing in the first A380 into Sydney in September 12 years ago, but who's counting? That was an absolute highlight. You know, I won't sleep for days, I don't think. It's just, I'm still on such a high. My father was a Qantas captain. He brought the first 747 in back in 1970-something.
The one with the biggest first-class lounge in the skies, with 15 washrooms and separate shaver bars.
My mum was a hostess. My wife was a flight attendant as well. My sister was a flight attendant. So I'm sort of had no option to get into aviation for my career.
So I want to pause the video at that point and just elaborate on what Ruinika said a moment ago on you know, these two pilots who had so much of experience behind them. One of them actually flew in the A380 first into Australia several years ago, and made such milestones in their careers. And yet, because of COVID, when everything came to a halt, we see that he had the ability, the strength, the adaptability that was required to even get into bus driving and then take things forward from there. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what resilience is all about, really. Regardless of challenges, regardless of whatever negative effects that are thrown at you, you and I need to develop the ability to change our focus, adapt, and continue to move forward in life. So with that being said, I want to bring us to the highlight of today's sessions as well, which is another question that I'm going to direct to you, Austin. And this question is with regards again to learning itself and reformed higher education. I'd like to just understand a little bit more, and for our audience to understand, how adjusted and even more relevant international standard higher education can be delivered.
Right, right. Okay. So if you look at what is the purpose of anybody wanting to have a higher education, it's really to have a great future. And those of you who are looking at maybe you can shift to the next slide. Those of you who are looking for a future in business, that's our theme, business beyond 2020, right? So how can you have a education in business management? That'll be good for you for your future, right? Now, well, there is something shocking I need to tell you, which is there in the next slide there, right? That is, sorry, no one can predict your future, right? Because as you can see, the world is changing quite a bit, and it will be very different in 30 years' time. So it's good that you get a good business management education now. The basic subjects that you learn there will be good. It will stand you well. But you also need to get an education that will give you the skill set to face a world that's going to change. Now, one of the things that a lot of people have been talking about is this whole idea of the fourth industrial revolution. So you may have heard of the first revolution, the second, and the third, and all of that. Now it's the fourth revolution. There's a nice video. I have given the link over there, so you could actually look it up in YouTube. So people are now aware that in the world, a lot of artificial intelligence is being used, and so people are expecting a lot of fusion or coming together between physical things, digital things, where artificial intelligence and data analytics and so on are used, right? And even bio things. So you might find people being fitted with kind of bionic devices with which they can lift something or do some special work, and robots doing a lot of work and so on. So there is a prediction. I don't know how true it will be, but there's a prediction that in years to come, there will be about 80 million jobs lost globally due to automation. Of course, the silver lining is that they say that 90 million new jobs will be created for people with the right skill set, right? So the thing is to sort of be able to make the change, whatever it happens, right? Now, interestingly, this whole thing of automation, which was sort of a trend anyway, has got accelerated because of the COVID-19 situation. The other day, the US, an important official in the US Federal Reserve was speaking in a news conference, and he was saying that the companies have actually accelerated their automation and online and digital strategies and during this COVID period. And it is also expected that a lot of these things that people are doing now are not going to be rolled back when COVID goes away. So which means that there will be lots of automation that will happen even after the COVID has gone away, and it will continue, right? So certain jobs may actually get lost. So we are looking at the next slide where we see that the world is going to be somewhat unpredictable in the future. So as everybody has been talking about today, the key is adaptability and resilience. So those are the key factors that you would expect from an education at the moment. Now, if I were to talk to you a little bit about my own experience, I did my first degree a long time ago in one of the best state universities in Sri Lanka. So when we did, so if you look at what did I take away from my state university education? It was good in the sense I learned certain basic stuff, but more than that, right? On the long run, more than the subjects that I learned, right? What I have been able to use is some of the other things that I learned along the way, right? learning to learn, study on my own, to learn things on my own, because so many times during my 30 years career, I had to shift into different areas and learn new things. So we had to learn things on our own, right? We had to manage our time. And most of all, we learned to live with and work with so many different types of people. Now we are going to we are increasingly coming into a globalized world. The opportunity side of COVID-19 is that a global company can work online with staff from Sri Lanka and India and China and USA and so on, even in the areas of business management, with so much of digitalization happening. So in the future, we are looking at companies which will have global workforce. You should know how to get on with people from different cultural and national backgrounds. So negotiating difference is a key, right? And being able to think critically, right? So these are the things that, of course, I mean, I acquired some of these things through my first degree, but most of it happened not by design. It just happened. But the good news is that, in a modern degree, that like the one that we are delivering, the business management, some of these key aspects are built in to the course itself, right? In a very intricate way, it is built in. So we look at education, the future of education, as creating learners rather than teaching. It is sometimes a bit. So people should be helped to find themselves how they can learn. Now, it is the education is actually a transformation process. Anybody walks into IIT as a person just out of school, doesn't matter whatever background they come from. So we look at education as transforming that person from that situation where they came into a global professional. And we don't look at education as a fastest route to get a paper qualification. It is sometimes very sad to see people thinking of degrees as, oh, how fast can I get it? Can I get it in 18 months, sort of thing. So this whole process of transformation is helped very much by a year of placement in the industry that we do in our business management program. So at the end of the second year, all our students go and work in the industry for 1 year, just like any other employee. And it's a kind of a monitored placement period during which we mentor them and the employer mentors them, so that when they come out of that and they come to do the final year, the students know what the real world is like, so that when they study their final year, the things that they study makes better sense to them. So if you go down to the next slide, you would see that the many of the requirements of a modern world are already kind of catered to in the topics that we teach in the degree, such as the use of, for example, business intelligence tools, the impact of things that are happening around on strategy and so on, like that. So many of these the features are actually built into a degree program. Apart from that, if I may sort of elaborate a little bit further about our partner university in the UK, which is there in the first slide, the University of Westminster. Now, they have this whole concept called the global graduate attributes, which they expect every student to have, and every business management student also should have these attributes, that are there. Let me give you an example what it's like. Let's take the first one. It says critical and creative thinkers. So what happens in a business management degree? In the first year, we teach organizational behavior. Now, we don't just teach the theories to the kids and say, okay, this is the theory, memorize it, and come and answer the question. As part of the the syllabus itself, the students are asked to criticize the theory, to really sort of see, will this theory work in every situation? Is this a theory that works only in the USA, or will it work in Sri Lanka? Right? What is wrong and what is right? Right? So all those angles, the students are asked to think, and which is quite different to what they are used to doing in our school education. So there's so this whole literate and effective communicators, especially important for business management students, because when they go to work in, especially during the placement period, they go to work in the top corporates in Sri Lanka. They should know how to communicate. So we actually spend quite a bit of effort in making the students learn what are called professional skills. We actually have a subject separately which we deliver called professional practice, in which we get people from the industry to come and groom the students so that they are ready to go to work in placement. So these things, both our partner university and we have sort of built into the entire course delivery, so that the student really acquires these skill sets. For example, entrepreneurial. If you are looking at a future world, right, there will be many situations like COVID-19 happening in the years to come. So just like Ruvinika said, that the lady who went from one profession to another, so you look at a change that is happening in the world, you look at it entrepreneurial and look for the opportunity side, and don't get kind of frozen by the problem side of it. And that is what the kind of attitude that we want to give our students globally in outlook, looking at the whole world as the marketplace, and socially, ethically, and environmentally aware citizens of the country. Students have to be especially learning to especially learn this whole thing of ethical thinking, because the world that is going to appear in the years to come will have a lot of ethical questions. How much of artificial intelligence should we use, right? How much of life can be taken over by robots? And so many questions will come. So students need to tackle those questions now itself. Now, I don't have really time to go into this in detail, but just I'll give you another example. This whole, the modern education is geared towards employability. So, for example, when we teach business decision making, the students actually learn, and their examination is actually a game in which they make business decisions on an almost real life company, and they compete with teams from other parts of the world, especially from UK, and different companies that are competing in the same market, right? So we have that kind of game as the examination. So the students have to apply their learning to make decisions for a business, and then they will see the outcome based on what other people decide. And these are interesting ways for the students to learn, these business principles in real life. So these kind of employability and these global graduate attributes are built into every subject, not only in the material, but in the way it is taught. The kind of experiences that are given to the student is very well crafted in this kind of thing. So I think the final point I would summarize, if you go to the last slide, the conclusion I would say is the key thing of a good futuristic education is to make the student employable and provide personal transformation, so that the student is able to face uncertainty, is adaptable, is entrepreneurial, is creative. So that's I would say the tribute of a good higher education program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Austin. And I think that pretty much sums it up. And we've talked about so much today. And I feel the pinnacle of all that we have said is that there is so much of education and learning that is necessary to face tomorrow. And it's not just about book and pens and papers anymore. There is so much of important learning that needs to happen in order to be able to face the challenges of the future. So much is changing, and there is so much that the business management degree itself that IIT provides which has already inculcated most of these or all of these learnings within itself. So a student going through the degree course would learn so much more than just theory. So with this being said, I'd like to conclude today's webinar. A special thank you to all of you for joining in. And thanks again, Austin, Manisha, and Vinika, for your interesting comments and all the experience and knowledge you shared with us today. So thank you very much, everyone. If there are any questions, you could feel free to ask them now. You may go ahead and unmute your mic or use the chat forum, and you're free to ask any questions. Okay. All right. If there are no questions coming in, then I'd like to bid you all the very best. And thank you for being a part of today's webinar. Okay, so before we close, there's a quick question coming in. So Tamali asked this question really, and she's asking about the AI job market. And if I could direct that question to you, Austin, can I direct that to you?
Yes. So the AI job market is opening up in Sri Lanka as well. And so depending on which way you go, there is a lot of AI which is on the business side as well. If you're a business student, also you can eventually go into AI related stuff. And the job market is opening up in Sri Lanka. There are so we actually we don't call it narrowly as AI jobs alone. We call them as data science jobs, right? So for example, in the final year, we teach kids about using business analytics tools, digital analytics tools, and so on. So those are also some kind of AI. So even business students can learn AI and get into those jobs where they actually use AI, unlike the technical students.
Thank you, Austin, and thank you, Tamali, for that question. Okay. All right. So that's about, I think, all the time we have for today. Once again, thanks so much for joining in and being a part of the webinar. All the very best to all of you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you.